Emily Carter had never heard silence like this. She stepped out of her rental car and closed the door with a soft click. The sound echoed sharp and out of place like a cough during a funeral. Dunmere, Maine, lay before her, a postcard-perfect village, nestled between thick pine forests and a still, glassy lake. The road behind her stretched for miles, no traffic. No buzzing power lines, not even a bird in the sky. It was quiet. She pulled her suitcase behind her, its wheels crunching on gravel. A painted sign swung gently above her. Welcome to Dunmere, population 412. But as she passed under it, a gust of wind knocked the sign to the side, and when it settled again, one of the digits had disappeared. Now it read, population 411. She blinked. The inn sat at the corner of Main Street. It looked like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting. White shutters, an American flag swaying in the breeze, flower boxes with carefully pruned daisies. The door opened before she could knock. Miss Carter? A woman in her 60s stood in the doorway, hands clasped neatly in front of her. Her smile was warm, but her eyes didn't quite match. We've been expecting you. Emily returned the smile. You must be Mrs. Whitlow, thank you for having me. Mrs. Whitlow nodded. Of course. We don't get many visitors anymore. Inside, the inn smelled of lemon polish and old paper. Everything was too clean, too still. Even her footsteps on the hardwood seemed muffled, like the building itself refused to echo. Over tea, Emily explained her article, a feature for an independent magazine on America's last quiet places. Dunmere had come up repeatedly in her research. No crime, no noise complaints, no traffic, no growth. It was as if the town had been frozen in time. Mrs. Whitlow chuckled. We like things simple here, peaceful. But there was something in the way. She said it like a warning wrapped in hospitality. That night, Emily lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. The silence pressed against her ears like cotton. No cars, no night insects, no wind, no sound at all. Then she heard it. A whisper, soft, almost imagined, just outside her window. She sat up. Nothing was there. She moved to the window and opened it slowly. The night air was cool still. But as she leaned out, she saw something or someone standing at the edge of the trees, motionless. A child. She blinked. Gone. The silence returned, heavy as stone. Somewhere deep inside her, a voice whispered, You shouldn't have come here. The morning light in Dunmere was golden, but it felt like a spotlight, sharp, focused, artificial. Emily walked down Main Street, notepad in hand, camera around her neck. The storefronts were quaint and uniform. A bakery with frosted window panes, a barber shop with a spinning red and white pole, a hardware store where every tool gleamed behind clean glass. Every sign was hand-painted. Every building looked like it had been scrubbed just yesterday. It was too perfect. A man sweeping the sidewalk in front of the bakery smiled at her as she passed. He looked to be in his late 70s, but his clothes were crisp, his posture military straight. Good morning, she said. He nodded, said nothing. She paused. I'm Emily. I'm writing a piece about Dunmere, small towns, quiet places, that sort of thing. Still nothing. Just the scrape of the broom bristles on concrete. She waited. He gave her another smile. Not a word. She moved on. At the corner, a little girl in a yellow dress sat on the curb, hands folded in her lap, eyes wide. She didn't blink much. Emily crouched beside her. Hi there. What's your name? The girl tilted her head slightly. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Instead, she raised a small notebook and held it out. Emily took it gently. On the open page, written in neat looping letters, Don't talk too loud. Emily looked back at the girl. Her mouth was still slightly open, like she was frozen mid-sentence. Why not? Emily whispered. The girl slowly shook her head. Then she stood, turned, and walked away in complete silence. No footfalls, no scuff of gravel. Just gone. Back at the inn, Emily uploaded the photos she had taken onto her laptop. Street shots, storefronts, that strange little girl. She zoomed in on the bakery photo. There was the man with the broom, smiling. Only now in the photo, his mouth was open wider than it should be. Unnaturally wide, his teeth too white. His eyes, unfocused, unaware, like a doll mid-smile. Emily stared at it. Her laptop speakers crackled. She jumped, hand over her heart. The sound came again, static, like a weak radio transmission. She hadn't opened any audio files. The crackling turned into whispering. Words she couldn't understand. A language that scraped at the back of her mind like nails on wet glass. Then it stopped. Silence returned. She stared at the screen. The photo was gone. In its place, a black box with one word blinking slowly in white. Typed across the screen as if by invisible hands, listen. The Dunmere Public Library stood at the end of a narrow street lined with sugar maples. It was small, just a single story with red brick walls and ivy curling along the windows, but something about it felt ancient. It didn't match the rest of the town's surgically preserved charm. Emily pushed open the door. A dusty bell above it chimed once, then broke into silence. The librarian looked up from behind the desk, startled. She was thin, pale, with long fingers that hovered over a return cart of books. "Good morning," Emily offered. The woman blinked slowly. "Shh." Emily nodded, lowering her voice. "I'm researching the town's history. Is there an archive section?" The librarian didn't speak again. She only stood, walked stiffly to a locked door behind the main desk, and produced a small iron key. She held it out but didn't meet Emily's gaze. Basement. Emily took it carefully. The stairs creaked on the way down. The basement smelled like wet stone and old glue. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead as she stepped into the archive room, which was lined with filing cabinets and rows of worn leather-bound ledgers. She spent the next hour digging through documents. 1921, a series of fires, officially ruled accidents. 1934, a missing persons report. 11 people vanished over the course of 2 months. 1963, a newspaper clipping. Mayor denies cult activity rumors. That one she photocopied. But it was a yellowed town census from 1972 that made her heart skip. The last name on the list was underlined in red ink. Emily Carter. Her breath caught. She stood abruptly, the stool screeching behind her. No one else was down here. The only light now came from a single flickering bulb above her. She looked back at the file. Same spelling, same birthday, same place of birth, Brooklyn, New York. Impossible. Then she heard it. Soft footsteps. Not from the stairs, from behind the filing cabinets. Emily froze. "Hello?" Silence. She backed away slowly, eyes fixed on the narrow space between two tall shelves. For a second, nothing moved. Then something leaned out. A figure, pale, small. It was the girl from earlier. Her mouth was sewn shut. The thread was black and thick, tied in rough stitches through bloody lips. Her eyes were wide, begging. Emily gasped. The girl raised a trembling hand and pointed toward the ceiling. Then without sound, she mouthed a single word. "Leave." Emily didn't remember unlocking the front door. One moment she was trapped in the darkened library, heartbeat pounding in her throat. The next, she was outside, standing in the middle of Main Street in the late afternoon sun, her camera bag still clutched in one white-knuckled hand. Everything looked normal again. Too normal. Children played silently in a front yard across the street, tossing a red ball back and forth without laughing or shouting. A man pruned a rose bush with robotic precision, never looking up. Somewhere a flag flapped, but it made no sound. Emily ran. She didn't stop until she reached the edge of town, where the paved roads turned to dirt, and the pine trees pressed close like sentries. There, nestled among the trees, was a crooked little house that looked abandoned, except for the smoke curling faintly from its chimney. She'd been told not to go there. Locals referred to the woman inside as Miss Gray. Some called her mad. Others simply didn't speak of her at all. But if there was anyone left in Dunmere who could give her answers, it was her. Emily knocked once. The door creaked open by itself. Inside, the house was dim and cluttered. Shelves overflowed with candles, bones, glass jars, and thick books with no titles. Miss Gray sat in a rocking chair near the fire, wearing a shawl and a vacant expression. Her eyes, when they locked onto Emily, were startlingly clear. "I thought you'd come," she said, voice thin but certain. Emily stepped inside. "You know who I am?" "I know what you are," Miss Gray replied. "You're a voice, a loud one." Emily didn't know what to say. Miss Gray gestured to a chair. "Sit before they hear you." "They?" Emily asked, even as she obeyed. Miss Gray leaned forward, her voice dropping. "The quiet ones." Emily's stomach turned. "They weren't always like that," Miss Gray continued. "They were the first. The children of the first pact. A long time ago, Dunmere was like any other town, noisier, messier. But things went wrong. Something woke up in the woods. Something that doesn't like sound. Emily's mind flashed back to the girl in the basement. The thread, the look in her eyes. They came during the night, Miss Gray said. A shadow with no shape. People started disappearing, one by one. Then some fool made a deal. The town would stay quiet. No shouting. No music, no pain. Just peace. In exchange, it would be spared. Spared from what? The listening thing, that's what I call it. It waits, it listens. If it hears you, really hears you, it takes you. Emily shook her head. Why do the people here obey it? Miss Gray's face darkened. Because once you've heard it whisper in your dreams, you understand. You either keep quiet, or you vanish. And what about you? Emily asked. Why haven't you been taken? I'm already half gone, Miss Gray said, tapping her temple. Madness is a kind of silence, dear. Emily stared into the fire. I can't stay here. I have to leave. Miss Gray laughed, a brittle sound. You think it'll let you? Once it marks you, the roads turn in on themselves. Maps go blank. Phones stop working. Emily stood up. There has to be a way out. There is, Miss Gray whispered. But it won't like it. Emily turned to her. Tell me. Miss Gray leaned forward, eyes wide and glistening. You have to make it louder. Make it so loud. I can't listen anymore. That night, Emily opened her laptop. She uploaded every photo, every recording, every note. She narrated everything she'd seen into her phone. Every whisper, every detail, every horror. Then she hit publish. And all over the country, people started listening. The video uploaded at 3:17 a.m. By sunrise, it had over 100,000 views. Emily sat alone in her room at the inn, trembling as the comment count ticked upward. Her hands hovered over the keyboard, unsure if she had just saved herself or doomed everyone else. The video was raw. Shaky footage, whispering audio, glimpses of strange children, stitched mouths, townspeople with too wide smiles. And finally, her voice urgent, pleading, describing everything she'd learned about Dunmere, about the listening thing. She didn't sleep that night. No one in town seemed to notice what she'd done. By noon, the video had gone viral. People began arriving in Dunmere. TikTokers, urban explorers, YouTubers hungry for the next backrooms. They drove up the winding roads with drones and DSLRs, cracking jokes and filming everything, but none of their videos uploaded. None of their cars made it back down. By the third day, the town disappeared. Satellite images blurred over where Dunmere used to be. GPS froze. Phone signals dropped. Emily Carter was never heard from again. Her YouTube channel remained online. The final video, titled "The Quiet Ones Are Real," full story plus footage, stayed up, untouched, unedited. It ends abruptly. No outro. No cut to black. Just static for 30 seconds. Then, in the last frame, Emily's voice, barely a whisper, can be heard saying, "If you can hear this, run." The screen goes black. And one final message fades in. Like, comment, and subscribe for more true horror. Just keep your voice down.